Hello children and welcome to St. Ursula Girls High School and Junior College Nagpur's online teaching module. In this teaching module, we will be starting with Chapter 6, Animal Classification. The topic that we are doing today is Introduction to Classification, History of Classification and Benefits of Classification. But before we start with animal classification, let us have a quick recap. In the previous class, you have studied this table. I want you all to take a minute and complete this table in your notebooks. You have studied classification of living organisms in your 8th standard and 9th standard as well. The living organisms present around us are mainly plants and animals. We have studied the criteria of classification. With the help of this chart, you will have a quick recap. As I just said, you have studied classification of plants last year. Keeping that in mind, it will help us to understand how, like plants are diverse, so are animals. You must be looking at various varieties of animals around you. Some animals are too small, whereas some are too big. Some animals are terrestrial, that means that live on land, whereas some animals are aquatic, that live in water or that live underwater. Some animals crawl on land, some swim in water, whereas some fly in the air. Some animals have scales on their skins, whereas some have feathers or some have hair. In this way, there is a huge diversity among the animals too. According to recent studies, estimated number of animal species on Earth is approximately 7 million. It is impossible to study each and every species. However, if groups and subgroups of animals are formed, depending on the similarities and differences, it will make it very easy to study the vast variety of animals. Therefore, what comes into picture is classification of animals. Before we start the chapter, let us see a very short and crisp history of how animal classification came into existence. Time to time, different scientists had tried to classify animals. Greek philosopher Aristotle was the first to perform the animal classification. Aristotle classified animals according to the criteria like body size, habits, and habitats. Habitat means the place where the living organism lives. Further, as per the new development in science, references were changed and thereby the criteria of animal classification too. Classification proposed by Aristotle is known as artificial method. Besides Aristotle, artificial method of classification was followed by Theophatus, Pliny, John Ray, Linnaeus, etc. Later on, natural system of classification was followed. Natural system of classification was based on various criteria like body organization, types of cells, chromosome, biochemical properties, etc. By the time system of classification based on evolution was also brought into practice. Children, we will study what are the bases of animal classification on which they are classified into groups in detail in the next module. As of now, let us look at the benefits of animal classification. First benefit, study of animal becomes convenient. Study of few animals from a group of animals helps us to understand upon the or about the entire group. It gives idea about animal evolution. Animals can also be easily identified with great accuracy. It helps us to understand the relationship of animal with other living organisms. It helps us to understand the habitat of each animal and its exact role in the nature. It also helps us to understand various adaptations shown by animals. Children, you have to learn these benefits by heart as it comes under a direct question. Before I start with the next module and end this module, I would like to give you some pointers so that you are prepared. For this chapter, you need to have your textbook in your hand along with a rough notebook. Also, please take note that you must have a pencil. The method of studying this chapter is very simple. In this chapter, you have technical and scientific terms which are expected in the answer while writing the exam. Therefore, you cannot write the meaning of that word, but you have to learn and write that word in the answer. So, please keep in mind that when you start the second module of this chapter, you must have a textbook, a rough notebook, and a pencil in your hand. So, children, this brings us to the end of module 1 of animal classification. Stay home, stay safe, and save lives. Thank you for watching. God bless you all.